So this is my first solo podcast episode. A little bit awkward being in a room chatting to myself, but hopefully you guys can take something from it. The goal of actually sitting down and doing this is just to get whatever is on my mind out of my mind, and also give you guys as much value as bloody possible. And by value I mean literally give you just little nuggets of information that you can take and implement or use to benefit you in any way, because I know I take a lot from podcasts, so I need to actually just start sitting down and chatting to you guys, and hopefully you guys can take something from mine. No goal to sell you any shit or any of that sort of stuff. There's no advertisements, literally just pure value and a little bit of a chat. And hopefully some of you guys like it. If you do like it, try and message me and let me know, and give me a push to continue on making these and stuff like that, and we'll see how we get on. But I kind of want to sit down and kind of talk through different aspects of fat loss, maybe starting from the beginning of fat loss, building your way in, and different things that I've learned along the way. And just getting started into a fat loss journey, I think, is where I'm going to start with this one. So I think a lot of people start a fat loss journey with maybe wrong intentions, and it's not your fault, and it's not wrong. It's not necessarily wrong, but it's kind of something that is perpetuated throughout social media as the solution for happiness, confidence, and everything else. And fat loss really isn't that. Fat loss isn't going to give you that alone. Yes, certain parts of it, and losing a little bit of weight can help you feeling better, feeling more confident, feeling a little bit better, but ultimately it's not the solution to happiness. And I found that out the hard way throughout my own journey, where I was always chasing the next scale number. So for anybody that doesn't know, maybe you're just a random fucking person listening to this Irish cunt rambling on, well, that'll be a big surprise that I'm here cursing already within the first minute and 40 seconds of the podcast. But get used to it. It's my podcast. If you don't like it, fuck off somewhere else and listen to somebody else. But yeah, starting with the fat loss journey, I think a lot of people can get into it for reasons of chasing happiness, chasing confidence, and trying to solve problems that can't be solved by being in a calorie deficit. So like I remember specifically in my own journey, I struggled with confidence most of my life, and mainly from being bullied so harshly in school. Like throughout a lot of school, I was bullied many different ways. I remember one, and I've shared this story a few times, where I got in the school bus on the way home, and it was like an hour and a half journey the whole way home, and this guy got from the back of the bus to the front, where all the nerds like myself were sat down beside me, and literally just called me a fat cunt for an hour and a half, to the point where I was really upset when I got off the bus, like, where I could barely even breathe. Like I used to get upset like that quite a bit. It's almost like a panic attack and upset at the same time, and that dropped my confidence super low. And in that, then I turned to food to cope with those emotions and different things. And this is where, when I talk about fat gain or struggling with overeating being a symptom and not actually being the main issue. It's like having a broken arm and giving yourself painkillers to try and solve the broken arm, when actually the broken arm is the issue. You should be fixing the broken arm. For me, that was emotional eating and trying to solve that and figure that out, dealing with my emotions in different ways that isn't just being in a calorie deficit, or dealing with my emotions in different ways which isn't just eating food, which is what I typically used to do. But most coaches online will perpetuate throughout social media that a calorie deficit is the solution to all your problems. Like, break your arm, get into a calorie deficit. Fucking having a tough day in work, just get into a calorie deficit, whatever it might be. And I think that's quite a shitty way of looking at things, because it's not the solution. And it's on social media that, like, if I go and lose weight, I'm going to be happier, I'm going to be confident, I'm going to be better, I'm going to be a better human being, when actually your scale weight doesn't determine any of those things, and being in a calorie deficit doesn't determine any of those things as well. I've met confident people on either end of the spectrum, over 100 kilos and under 100 kilos. And I think when you realize that confidence and happiness doesn't come from that number, the same way as it doesn't come from a number in your bank account or any of those things, it's different and it's complicated. And me building up my confidence over a period, I'm confident in certain aspects of my life, like sitting here in front of a camera. I'm confident with that because I've posted 800 videos now to social media. So I frankly don't give a fuck about that anymore. When situations where I'm maybe a little bit less confident might be speaking to people, or prime example at IFS last weekend, which is like a talking conference for coaches and stuff like that. I was super unconfident. I was literally shaking with nerves before I started stepping up. I cried the day before because I was so anxious and so nervous about that. But in certain aspects of my life, people would see me as super confident and being able to chat to people, because I do that on a day-to-day basis, but I'm not the same in different circumstances. So this is where confidence is circumstantial. So with regards to maybe you guys that are struggling with wearing clothes that you enjoy, or struggling with confidence in the aspect of going to a beach and being able to take your t-shirt off, I can promise you the solution in that isn't all in a calorie deficit. Yes, losing a little bit of weight might help you feel a little bit better in that, but I don't think it is the be all end all, because I have lost a lot of weight and had a six pack, but yet still felt super unconfident and very nervous and anxious on a beach. So the actual solution to that is taking your t-shirt off and doing it now. and doing the things that scare you now and pushing yourself into the comfort zone, out of your comfort zone. I think a lot of people go throughout their lives really afraid of feeling anxious and feeling nervous and run away from those feelings and avoid those feelings, when it's actually funny that those feelings are almost what keep you alive. Like, imagine never being able to feel that, and that's how you know you're doing something that you haven't done before. And the solution to your problem is actually in that. The solution to your problem is actually in being anxious for a bit, because it means you're doing something that you're not super confident with. Being not confident is doing something that you haven't done before. And so the solution to a lot of your problems is actually in those feelings and chasing those feelings. And I'll often do this to myself, and I often feel best after overcoming things like that. And when I'm not pushing myself out of my comfort zone and not doing more, my mental health and stuff like that will start to suffer, because I'm not chasing the uncomfort. And when I'm not chasing the uncomfort, and for you guys maybe at home that are struggling with, whether it be going to the gym or whatever it might be, understand that those feelings are normal. We do not have to run away from them. It's okay to feel those feelings, and it's okay to be anxious and be nervous and be unconfident with going to the gym, because you've never done it before. And how we get more confident with regards to going to the gym or doing certain things or whatever it might be is by actually doing it. And start with the small steps. And like, one thing that I started off doing before posting videos on social media, because a lot of people would find that very anxiety kind of anxious feeling is very, very high when it comes to posting into social media or whatever it might be, like even going to the gym first time, is like, if I can do something. So if I can do a podcast, I can do a video online. If I can record my voice and send it to my friends, well then I can record my voice and put it up on social media. So think back to all of the things that prove to you that you can do the thing, and that'll help with regards to you getting started and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, which ultimately leads to that confidence that we're building. And so this is where a lot of people get into the weight loss journey, chasing confidence and happiness and that, but don't actually realize and actually think that the scales is going to give them that, but don't actually realize that the scales isn't what's making you more confident, more happy and better in yourself. It's actually challenging yourself and doing the things that you say you're going to do. Like maybe if it's tracking your calories, getting out on your walk, getting your movement. Yes, as a side thing, that probably does bring down your weight, and you associate your weight going down with then being more confident, but it's actually the fact that you're doing something that's a little bit difficult that's making you feel confident. It's not the fact that scale is going down. So for anybody that might be struggling with your scale weight, fluctuating up and down or whatever it might be, please start to recognize that like everything that you're looking for isn't in that number. And I can promise you, if you get down to that number that you've been before, that number that you're chasing, you're not going to feel fulfilled when you get there. And this is coming from somebody who chased that number over and over and over again. I can remember being like 69 kilos, staring at myself in my bathroom mirror. I have a picture of it, and absolutely hating the way that I looked, and like just wanting that number to come down. And I got to the point where I was literally having a chicken breast. That was it for my dinner, just one meal, a chicken breast, and starving the shit out of myself, to the point where I was looking like very gaunt, and actually at the point of probably getting very, very sick if I didn't stop. It was only that my mom had kind of chatted to me a few times about it that I pulled back, and I'm so grateful for that support system I have in everything that I do, because otherwise I'd be in probably a fucking very bad place. But when it came to that side of things, that was a realization moment that holy fuck, actually the solution to all of your problems isn't in getting that scale weight to come down, because that's why most of you maybe start into a fat loss journey. And this isn't me trying to talk you out of getting a little bit healthier, but it's looking at getting healthier in a different manner. That I'm not doing this to be happier, to look a different way, whatever it might be. It's to feel better and to challenge myself and push myself out of my comfort zone. And that allows me to then challenge things. Like, for example, if I go to the gym and I tackle that challenge, going to the gym and tackling that challenge and stepping through and feeling the fear and feeling the anxiety and feeling the feelings of inadequacy maybe when you go, because you never feel like you're good enough to be there, whatever it might be, will ultimately leave you to feeling less anxious the next time of doing something similar, you leading you to being more confident and feeling more adequate in certain situations. And it can cross over. So like maybe going to the gym might help you with a work presentation that you have to do, or might help you take a step forward with that. And I think these are the important parts of health and fitness that we should be looking at, is constantly challenging yourself with things, rather than looking at as, oh, I just need to go to the gym to lose weight. It's like, no, that is a challenge in front of me that I want to face. So just, I suppose, one of the things I want to kind of drive home in this podcast, a solo podcast, and my solo rambles, let's say, is let's look at different avenues of your weight loss journey and different things within losing weight and different things other than just losing weight, and rather than that, looking for the challenge, because I can guarantee you that's going to carry you forward and improve your life a lot more than just chasing numbers that nobody gives a fuck about, to be honest. Like, list me one person that knows what your scale weight is other than yourself. Probably not very many people. Probably maybe you, and if you have a coach, your coach. And I doubt your coach, if they're a good coach, really gives a fuck about that number too much either. Obviously, my job is to try and help people lose weight and lose X amount of weight, but to be honest, that goal for me is long past me giving a fuck about at this stage. For most people, what I really care about is trying to make people feel happier and get what this ultimately you're trying to get from losing weight. Because most people say, I want to lose weight, but the ultimate thing is to feel more confident, to feel better, and to feel like you can tackle and achieve things. That's what you're looking for. You're not looking for just a scale number to go down. And that's where I'm happy when someone leaves me and has achieved those things and I can help people with it. And it's actually why I want to move more into the mindset side of fitness and understand the mental health aspect and all of those things, more so than just speaking about a calorie deficit all the time or that. And I don't know whether I'll go and study or get a book together or do something. I'm kind of all over the place at the moment with what regards to what my next steps are, because I always get asked that question, like, what are we doing next or whatever it might be. But for me, I think I want to try and help with discussions like this and just talk a little bit more deeper about fat loss and help you guys with regards to fat loss. Going into other aspects anyway, so going back to kind of starting your fat loss journey, that's kind of touching on reasons as to why maybe a couple of you guys have gotten started and just hopefully switch your perspectives on a couple of things like that. The other aspect that's kind of become apparent to me the last couple of weeks and stuff, and just from working with people, is the aspect of trying to do everything all at once and doing the complicated shit first. So, for example, most people will go straight into tracking calories when trying to lose weight because that's what is on social media. Again, social media can be a bit of a death trap for people. Not realizing that the smallest things can have the biggest impact, and this can be really, really hard for people to understand. If you drink a glass of water, right, you're going to feel more energized because when we drink more water, we're going to feel better. If we then, right, feel better, we're likelihood going to make better choices with nutrition. And when we drink a glass of water, we're going to feel less hungry. We're going to feel more satisfied with our meals. We're going to, as I said, have more energy. So therefore, we'll feel the need to snack and eat less because we know when we're tired and have lower energy, we feel the need to snack and eat more. So by drinking a glass of water, we actually manage to reduce our calorie intake while improving our energy levels and helping us feel better, actually giving us more results than if we just tracked calories by itself and fucked everything else off. And this is where it's super important to look at your health and fat loss journey and ask yourself, am I doing the basic things? Because those small steps, right, those tiny little 1% things or whatever it might be, actually give you about 50 to 60% of your results. Sleep, for example, sleeping, probably one of the most important parts of fat loss or weight loss over a health-based journey. It impacts how we feel mental health wise. If you're not getting enough sleep, you will notice you will wake up feeling more anxious, less confident, a little bit more shitty. You will generally turn more towards negative thoughts. If we improve our sleep, not only will that reduce hunger and increase fullness that we feel through eating foods, but also outside of that, we're going to have more energy levels because we've slept more. More energy levels means we're naturally going to move around a little bit more. And then the hunger side of things is going to cause us to eat a little bit less. And we're going to feel less stressed because we have more sleep in there. And with less stress, we're going to end up eating less as well, because most people turn to food because of stress. And maybe you're one of those as well. But yet most people don't focus on sleep. And it has all of these benefits, which ultimately benefit your caloric burn by a shit ton. It'll help you burn a shit ton more calories and actually help you eat a shit ton less calories without actually even having to track the fucking calories. And so this is where most people don't realize it's like a domino effect. We actually want to hit the first domino, not the last domino. The last domino is your calorie deficit. We don't want to hit that last domino. We want to hit the first one that's the easiest to hit, and it'll knock over all the ones in front of it, giving you more energy, making you feel better. It's easy. I don't want to say it's easy because in certain situations it's a little bit hard to go out and get your sleep in. I know for a fact, I know that can be difficult for parents and XYZ, but even 5 minutes extra, even if you're not going to sleep but just get into bed a half an hour earlier, whatever that might be, that'll benefit you hugely. I think the more we look at fat loss and we break, one question to ask yourself for whatever it is that you're struggling with in life, this could be fat loss, whatever it might be, business, or I don't care, what would this look like if it was easy? Literally, what would this look like if it was easy? And let's do that, because whatever it is you're struggling with, sometimes it can feel very overwhelming. When we're overwhelmed, we don't want to take a step forward. When you ask yourself that question of what does this look like, what would this look like if it was easy, I can guarantee you will make a start at it, you will take action at it. And with things that maybe you don't, another good question to ask yourself is, can I do 50% of it? So if you have an hour-long gym session planned, or whatever it might be, can I do 50%? If you plan to track all your calories throughout the day, can I do 50% of it? Can I track half my calories throughout the day? It's still going to bring food awareness. It's still going to give you a benefit. You're not getting benefit from doing nothing, right? If you do nothing, you don't do 50%. Even ask yourself, can I do 10% of what I'm expecting from myself? If you can, you're going to get more benefit than somebody that does 100% one day and then does 0% the next days, right? What we need to do is do something, because those little things add up. Another great quote that I've heard over the last week is little by little, a little becomes a lot. So little by little, a little becomes a lot. And always ask yourself when it comes to doing difficult shit is, can I do 50% of it? If you can. If you can do 50% of it, then do it. Just try make a start at it. If you can't do 50%, let's start with 20%. Can we just do 20%? For a walk, if I can't do an hour walk, can I do 10 minutes? 10 minutes is better than none. Getting some form of movement in your day. Like, it's funny how the first 10 minutes of your walking actually probably gives you the most amount of benefits, as in it probably increases your life expectancy the most. It probably gives you the most health benefits. It probably make you feel the best. You feel the best after you get outside for the first fucking 5 minutes. And so after that, it's a bonus. If you can get out for more, it's a bonus. But just doing those basic things and not expecting too much from yourself can kind of help out the most. And I know social media can really overcomplicate things, like with making sure you're tracking your carbohydrates, or make sure you're looking at how much salt and XYZ that you're having. The reason that is because if I overcomplicate it, right, do you feel confused? If I tell you, okay, you have to hit 50 grams of protein, you have to hit 100 grams of carbohydrates, you have to hit 25 milligrams of salt, and you have to go and fast and fucking, I don't know, sunlight your arse, or whatever the fuck it might be, right? If I tell you these things, do you feel confused? Do you feel like that would be hard to achieve? If the answer to those questions is yes, it's easier to sell you something. That's where most of the people go on with regards to social media. They'll try and make you feel confused, try and make you feel like you can't achieve something by yourself, so you have to pay for their solution. It's as simple as that. 99% of coaches online will do that. And secondly, will be touching pain points. And that's where we lead back to why we're starting a health-based program. Starting a health-based program to improve your happiness, whatever it might be, is super important, but you're not going to achieve that by a calorie deficit. And a lot of coaches will put that through their progress pictures, before and after pictures of this person was fucking miserable 6 weeks ago, they've lost 25 kilos and now's the best they've ever felt in their whole entire lives. I'm sorry, pal, it's not a calorie deficit or losing 16 kilos that gotten the person there. It's challenging themselves and doing other things outside of that. And actually, most of those people with those rapid transformations and before app don't feel any better after it, because they haven't worked any of these mindset things in the background and actually fully understood the eating side of things. And so what they end up doing is actually feeling worse after, because they regain the weight, because they actually haven't understood their body any more than before they joined. Because giving someone calories isn't helping them understand the way their body works, or you understand your body works. This is why I want, if you guys are tracking calories, I'm not saying tracking calories are bad. I think it's a fucking brilliant tool. I use it myself. Most of my clients will use it as well. But I think it can be seen as the be all end all. We become too reliant on it. So it's always important that we are aware of the foods that we're eating, how full we're feeling, how good we're feeling with certain foods, outside of just what the app is telling you a number of calories. Super important. Yes, being in a calorie deficit, making sure we're tracking our calories can help us lose weight, but take the other steps first. Make sure we're getting our water intake, make sure we're doing our sleep, make sure we're having structured meals like our breakfast, lunch and dinner. These things are going to benefit you 100 times more than just tracking your calories well, and it's also going to make tracking your calories easier when we do reach to that point where maybe we do have to do that in order to lose weight. And I suppose going into that, back to that aspect of coaches pushing pain points and saying you're going to be happier in your miserable position, and to get out of that you need to be in a calorie deficit. For some people, maybe you don't. Maybe you do not. Maybe somebody needs to hear this. Maybe you do not need to lose any more weight. Maybe weight loss isn't the solution to your problem. Maybe talking to someone, maybe having a conversation, maybe going to therapy, maybe whatever it might be, might actually be the solution to your problem. Fat loss is an easy thing to blame for you not feeling great. Right? Fat is an easy thing for you to blame. Maybe it's because you haven't got outside and got some movement in. And I know when I was in a really, really bad state, like only like 3 years ago now, where I could barely even fucking leave my bedroom, the thought of actually getting up and going for a walk was so overwhelming. But what I want you to do is like, what can I do today? And again, going back to what would it look like if it was easy? For me, what that was getting up and having a shower. So taking a step forward every day was actually just being able to go and have a shower for myself and get myself washed and then not leave the bed for the rest of the day. It was a step forward or a step better than what I was doing previously. And I think for you guys on your journey, it's important to realize that the challenge kind of creates the achievement, or the challenge is what gives you that level of achievement. So for example, when I found it difficult to get outside and go for a walk because I was really anxious back a couple of years ago and loads of shit was going on, actually getting up and going for a shower was just as difficult for me as maybe it was for me to run fucking a marathon now. Like, it was that much of a mental challenge, and therefore it should be that much of an achievement. It shouldn't be, oh well, I can't get out of bed so I'm useless because all these people are doing so well with their lives, or I can only go for a 5-minute walk and Sandra down the road can do an hour walk so she's better than me. It's not that. If 5 minutes is what you can do, that is a challenge for you to go out and do, and if you do that challenge, it's just as much of an achievement to maybe Sandra finds it easy to walk 60 minutes, right? And so this is where we want to go into is for people maybe starting up exercise or starting up things and doing difficult shit, rather than comparing yourself to other people and comparing yourself in a negative manner, look at it and be like, right, this is actually just as difficult for me to do as it is for somebody else to do what they're doing. So running 5 kilometers, for example, running someone's first 5 kilometers is probably more difficult than a marathon runner running a marathon. They probably find that fucking easy. So again, that challenge creates that achievement, and remember that we're looking for that challenge. If you find something easy, and I know that you guys want to find this easy, it wouldn't be something worth celebrating. This YouTube, I have a little YouTube plaque for anybody that's not watching the video. I have a YouTube plaque in the background, the 100,000 subscribers plaque that I got last year for getting 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. And to be honest, I don't give a flying fuck about it. And the reason is, it's actually what used to be in a bag, and then I actually took it out there last week just to have something shiny in the background here in the videos. But in that, I just don't, it wasn't an achievement for me because I put up one video and it took off. But my Instagram, that's on 740,000. That's a massive achievement because I posted 800 videos to get to that point, and it was such a huge grind for me to do that I felt really achieved. I often think about this, it's hilarious. I don't know if any of you have played the game Sims. I'm sure everybody has. When you use cheats, the game gets boring. When you just skip all the challenge and don't make it difficult on yourself, it's really, really shit and boring. Like, nobody wants to fucking do it, and you just give up and you delete it anyways. I suppose that's like one aspect, is like, challenge isn't necessarily negative. Challenge is what creates the achievement. So if you're finding something difficult right now, although the solution isn't to give up, because you'll never feel great after giving up, the solution is to see the challenge as a positive and how can I overcome this? Because when you overcome it, even if it's losing £1, if £1 is super fucking difficult for you to lose right now, right, I want you to see how you're going to feel after you lose that pound, because it will have been such a challenge and an achievement for you. That £1 might be the equivalent to someone losing 10 kilos. Right, and so everybody is so individual, and people will find things more difficult, less difficult, but the more difficult you find it, actually better, because you'll respect it more, and also you'll feel more achieved at the end of it. Like, if you just went down and lost 10 kilos and it was super fucking, to be honest, you wouldn't find any success in that. You wouldn't feel any better at the end of that. So in that, I think it's super important to face the challenges and tackle them, and see that, look, this is going to be hard and it's difficult, and weight loss is one of the most difficult things that you'll ever do. But if I challenge that and tackle it, I'm going to feel super achieved after. And just with people who maybe do feel like giving up with challenge, or avoiding challenge, or running away from it, I suppose that I heard this great kind of quote or analogy from Paul Moore, who was speaking at IFS, and he was talking about the river of change, right? And the river of change is essentially what we have to step into to get to the other side, which is where our new thoughts, new beliefs, and essentially that new character that we want to build is, or that person that we want to be is. So actually, rather than seeing the river of change as a negative thing, or essentially where it was described is, when you step into the river, you feel unconfident, you feel self-doubt, you feel challenged, you feel like things are difficult, you feel overwhelmed. Rather than seeing that as a negative, see that as feedback that you're in the river of change. So see that as feedback as you're on your way to the other side of the river, where the person that you want to become is. Then it becomes something that's a little bit more positive, and something that you can look to overcome, rather than something that you run away from. Because if you run away from it and go back, you're just going back to your old beliefs, your old thoughts, your old habits, and the person that maybe you are now, or the person you were previous, and that's not where you want to be. So you know if you're feeling any of those feelings, one, that you're alive, and second of all, that you're trying to improve in some manner. I think that's super important. And with challenge, it's something that I want to touch on here a little bit as well, because a lot of people get caught up in challenge, and when they face challenge, the instant thing when they don't achieve something is to give up, or when they find something difficult. So for example, if you've been trying to lose weight, maybe your weight hasn't come down, or your weight has come up a little bit, or with business, if you found it really difficult and maybe that's took a downturn, or whatever it might be, is rather than seeing it as a negative and something to kind of just give up, this is a point of improvement. This is something that I can make a change to try and help me out here. I call it the fucked circle. So essentially we start off with taking action or fucking up, but we have to either take action or fuck up in order to be able to use it. Most people don't take action because they're afraid, and most people are afraid of fucking up, so they just give up straight away. But you have to have those things in order to do this. What we do is we reflect on it. So the thing that we fucked up on or found difficult, we reflect on it. Rather than giving up, we look back at it and be like, right, why have I struggled with it? Why isn't my weight coming down? Right? Why is my weight maybe not coming down? What are the things that maybe aren't going my way with that? Maybe I haven't been as consistent as I'd like with my water intake or whatever it might be. And then in that reflection, we have a learning. So you might come to some conclusion of just one thing is all we need. One thing of that you're finding difficult, or maybe that is holding you back from getting results, or one thing that maybe we can change to better. Like for regards to business, it might be, well, reflection, my business isn't doing too well and I'm really struggling. That might be my fuck up. My reflection is, well, right, what have I been doing? Maybe I haven't been posting to social media. Maybe I haven't been super confident in the product that I'm selling or whatever it might be. And it's so to change that. The learning is in changing that. What do we implement to make progress? How do we overcome this? And this is seeing challenge as something to overcome rather than challenge as a problem or an issue that we can't solve. So rather than looking at all of the problems, look at solutions to those, and that's where you're going to overcome it. I do believe there's like a character trait that's kind of looks at challenge in that way. I ran away from challenge for years, and it's something that just takes some mental switch to kind of switch and again see it as that you're in the river of change when you're experiencing maybe failure and finding things hard. But what we do anyways is get that learning from it, and then we implement it. But implementing a learning might be something that you've taken from me speaking on a podcast here, maybe a tip that I give you on social media, whatever it might be. If that doesn't work and it fucks up again, it's not that you're useless, you're shit, you're lazy and go back into this criticism, because you're never going to take a step forward being critical to yourself. You're never going to hate yourself into change. What we need to do is actually just try something else, because that hasn't worked for you, and that's okay. And there's always another way, and there's a way that you will figure it out. There's another way for you to try and implement. So then try the next step. Try change it in a different way. For example, if you're really struggling with drinking water and someone gives you the advice to drink a glass of water before each meal and schedule it in, and that doesn't work for you, rather than just fucking off and being like, I can't lose weight, I'm fat, I'm lazy, I can't stick to things, well, look at it and like, well, how can I maybe try and help myself with regards to what? Maybe I can just drink a litre of water first thing when I wake up in the morning time. And that's how we should approach health and fitness, and any challenge that we face in life is like, how will this suit me? How does this work for me, rather than what everybody has told me should work, and if I don't fit into that, I'm fucking useless and I'm shit. All of this kind of comes back to school for me, and I always think about this and why I was so critical on myself for so long, of like, you either pass or fail a test. You're either a good student or a shit student for not answering the fucking select questions that they put on a test, for the things that they decided would be there, not the questions that you were good at or the things that you're good at, and it wasn't put in a way that maybe you understand, but you are seen as shit for that, or instantly you're not a good student, failure, right? Fat loss and everything else in life is not like that. There's a million and one different ways to do things, whether it be with business. Again, with my business and my coaching business, I do things completely different to everybody else, and I refuse to follow along the lines of other people and just copy what other people, because I just wouldn't be fulfilled with that. And like, even with my fat loss journey, I probably do habits that are a lot different to what other people might suit. Like for some people it might be, well, I'll only eat chicken, rice and veg, and if you like doing that, that's okay. But for me, that doesn't fucking work. And I'm going to put out information and help people with shit that does work for me. And I'm going to put out what works for me. And if that doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean that you're useless, you're shit. It might mean that you just need something else, and you need to adjust things, and you need to change things to fit you, because we're all so individual in everything that we do. Again, this isn't just about fat loss, but kind of about everything that is kind of encapsulated into that journey of life, is rather than looking at things that I should fit this narrative and I should be able to do X. Fuck that. Maybe you just need to find a way that works for you, and that can be difficult to find. Sometimes it just takes writing out a bunch of ideas on a fucking pad of paper and choosing one for a week and trying it, and then if that doesn't work, we go back and try option 2. If that doesn't work, we go back and try option 3. And a good way to organize this, like whatever it is that you're struggling with right now, just get out a pen and piece of paper, write out a couple of things that might help you overcome it. It doesn't have to be the solution, it doesn't have to help you overcome. That might help you. Okay, I want you to list them in order of what is the shittest thing that you do not want to do, and then up to the easiest thing, the straightforward step that you would find the best, right? Take the straightforward one that you would find the best and try and implement that. If it doesn't work, go back to number 2 and try and implement that for a week. If it doesn't work, then we try number 3. And you could be trying things for maybe 3 months before you find something that fucking nails it for you. For me, I am the worst at getting up early. Worst person at getting up early. I fucking hate it. Anybody that says that to be successful you need to get up at 5 a.m. is chatting bollocks, because yeah, I don't get up at 5 a.m. and not a fucking chance you couldn't pull me out of bed. Sometimes I get into a routine of being able to do it, but for me, I wanted to get up earlier because I can get more things done. I can get time in the evening time to then record a podcast and get more shit done. One of the things that really, really helps is actually just fucking my phone away. So instead of charging my phone at my bedside table, I'll just get my phone, set the alarm on it, and fuck it over to the other side of the room. So I have to get out of bed to get it to turn it off. Once I'm out of bed, that's 100% sound. But for some people, that won't work. You'll just get back into bed, go sleep. So what is one thing that you can do to try and help you get yourself up a little bit earlier? And so just because I say that works for me, and it comes back to that thing of maybe it won't for you, and that's okay. We figure out as we go what will, because every one of us is so individual. But yeah, anyways, I don't know how I got onto that ramble, but I wanted to kind of talk through like the starting steps of fat loss and different aspects that people will face as we go, and hopefully you can kind of take something from those. And the other thing is, and it's something that I talked about at IFS and I kind of want to bring up here as well. For anybody that doesn't know, I think I explained at the start, is International Fitness Summit. It's a speaking event in front of coaches and other people trying to help out. And it's with pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think when you realise this becomes a huge amount easier. When you realise that everybody you're surrounded by is a fucking idiot, it's so much easier to take a step forward with the thing that you want to do. Whether it be posting on social media, you're afraid your friends are going to think you're a fucking idiot, the people around you are going to think you're a fucking idiot, your family members are going to think you're a fucking idiot. It doesn't matter, because they are one too. They are one too. Everybody is a fucking human being and they're winging the shit out of it. This is the thing that I went through in the IFS talk. Like, what is your definition of a fucking idiot? What you're listening to this podcast, just say it out loud. What is your definition of a fucking idiot? Someone who makes mistakes. Someone who maybe doesn't do things correct sometimes. Somebody who maybe gets lost or gets stuck. Somebody that maybe says the wrong thing. Somebody that maybe fucking fails at things. Somebody that maybe, yeah, just all of those things. Have you ever done any of those before? Yes. Name me one other person on planet Earth that hasn't done one of those things. Nobody. Everybody has. Everybody has fucked up at some stage. Everybody's gotten lost at some stage. Everyone has failed at some stage. So your definition of a fucking idiot, or somebody that for anybody that's not Irish, idiot is an idiot. So for anybody that's an idiot around you, everybody's an idiot, including yourself. And so that should remove the fear of looking like an idiot, because everybody fucking is, and we're all winging the shit out of this. And the quicker that you realize that, the less fear you're going to have going into a gym, because you just realize that people are just lifting random lumps of fucking metal around in random fucking ways that one cunt said you should do it this way, and everybody just started to follow along. And everybody is different length, arms, legs, necks, fucking everything. And so of course their exercise is going to look different. Before going to the gym, you're going to do it differently than everybody else. Before posting on social media, you're going to be different than everybody else. And some people are going to fucking think you're an idiot whether you do post on social media or you don't post on social media. Some people are going to think you're a fucking idiot whether you do go to the gym or you don't go to the gym. The issue is when you think you are a fucking idiot and you decide not to do the thing you want because you believe you're a fucking idiot, you're a fucking idiot 24 hours a day. At least when it comes to the opinions of others. They might have them of you quite often, but you won't hear of them that often, so it doesn't really matter. You might hear of them once in a while. Someone will make a comment to you, or I'll often get comments underneath my social media. But then I realised that those comments are short-lived, because I only see them for maybe an hour, or I only see them for a moment in time. And I'd much rather be an idiot for a moment in time than an idiot for 24 hours to myself, because I can be very critical on myself, and as I'm sure a lot of you guys can. And it's not something that you want to look back at. Like, when it comes to the end of your life, like, the last thing I want to say is, fuck, why didn't I give it a go? Why didn't I try that? Why didn't I do this? Even if whatever I do or whatever you do, you completely fuck it up and you make a show of yourself, one, it'll be forgotten. You'll probably forget about it. And actually, that's what makes your memories. Think back to any funny memories you have as a child or any things that went on. It's often fuck ups and things that are hilarious. Like, I remember, he'll kill me for saying this on a podcast, but anyways, my younger brother, when he was younger, he shit along the top of a couch. This is so random, but anyways. We were all sat down watching a film on the couch, and he was always such a master. He's hilarious. What an absolute legend. But anyways, he climbed up on the couch and we were all watching the film, and everybody just started to smell shit, and we were like, what the fuck is going on? And we looked up onto the back top of the seat of the couch, and there was just a line of shit along the top of it. But it's like those things, like, are such fuck ups that make someone look like an idiot, are actually the memories that are hilarious, that make life what it is. And imagine everybody was perfect, but no funny things to talk about, there'd be no crack to be had. That's another thing everyone's always asking me, what does crack mean? It's a bit of fun or whatever it might be, or what's the crack is what I say, and what's the crack means hello, how are you, essentially. But yeah, it's hilarious, that stuff with fuck ups and stuff. And like, if you think about going to the gym, like, what's the worst that can really happen? Like, you go to the gym, or let's talk about two things, gym and social media. So you go to the gym, and you're afraid, right? And what are you afraid of? What is the possible thing that could happen to you? You could drop a weight. You could maybe do an exercise wrong. Somebody could say something to you. Is it that bad? Will you get over it? Will it kill you? How are you going to feel after? What are you going to do after? This is another thing that maybe I actually don't think I've ever shared this. When it comes to me doing difficult shit, like one of the biggest fears on planet Earth is actually public speaking, and I've done it multiple times now in front of hundreds of people at a time. So I class that as I'm fairly good at overcoming fears of pushing myself out of my comfort zone, going from 130 kilos with no confidence, barely being able to leave my room, to where I am now, speaking on social media all of the time and speaking in front of people all the time. I'm pretty sure that's a fucking massive enough change to be able to give advice to people on how to make positive change. But I suppose with that aspect of making change, I can't remember where I was going with this now. My brain is absolutely fried here. Hopefully I can give me 2 seconds here to get myself back on track. So I was talking about going to the gym. Oh yeah, what's the worst that can happen? And this is where I think about, what am I going to do after? This is something that has massively helped me overcome so many different things within my life. What can I do after is often I think, what am I going to do after? So with my jiu-jitsu competitions, another thing that I tackle my fears with, of where in jiu-jitsu someone could strangle me, choke me and put me unconscious, right? I could break my arm or whatever it might be. I always ask myself, at the end of the day, if that happens, what am I going to do after? I'm going to go for a coffee. Regardless, I'm going to go for a coffee. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to have a donut probably as well, because I fucking love them. And ice cream. Fucking love ice cream, for anybody that doesn't know. But I think that's super important to realise, is that what's the worst that can happen and what are you going to do after? When you can visualise what you're going to do after this big event or this big scary thing, it becomes less scary, because no matter what happens in the gym or no matter what happens when you post to social media, you're going to go for a coffee, you're going to have a laugh with your friends and family, and they're still going to be there for you. So who gives a fuck about everything else? Because at the end of the day, when it comes to your funeral, when you're being put in the ground 6 foot under or whatever, whether you're being fucking cremated or whatever, none of that shit is going to matter. None of the opinions of others are going to matter. Only those people in your close circle. And actually, at the end of the day, for some people, those opinions won't even matter. It's only yourself that really matters at the end of the day. And that's where, I suppose, thinking about challenges and being anxious and feeling not okay, that might help somebody. Think about, what are you going to do after? What is the things that you're going to experience after? And no matter what happens, you probably get there anyways. Whether you lose your jiu-jitsu competition, you win it, or whether I fuck up my talk at IFS or I do it perfectly, or whether I go to the gym and I get really anxious and I leave, or whether I go to the gym and absolutely smash it, regardless of what happens, I'm going for my coffee after and I'll be fine. And I think once you kind of get that, it makes visualizing these things super easy. And just another thing to hopefully help a couple of you guys out with tackling challenge and going to the gym or social media, whatever it might be. And it was a really good analogy that I got off Dan Morgan, and it was talking about a spider. Like, if you were afraid of a spider, you wouldn't get the spider and stick it on your head, right? Because you'd be afraid. You'd be like, holy fuck, get this fucking spider off me. If you're afraid of spiders, what you would start off doing is putting the spider as far away from you as possible and looking at it. If you wanted to get rid of your fear of spiders, you'd look at it and you'd be like, okay, fuck, right, spider there, it's scary, let's look at it. And then to reduce your fear, you take one step forward with it and look at it, one step forward, and then you pick it up and put it in your hand, and then it get closer and closer. That's how you'd remove your fear from spiders. So I want you to approach everything that you're doing that maybe you're a little bit afraid of with the same analogy or the same process. Don't start with the spider in your face, start with a far away. So for example, going to the gym, I'll have to go in there for 5 minutes, I can fuck off and leave after. Right, 5 minutes is all you want. Or maybe it might be, I'll look at the gym videos online before I go in to help me reduce my anxiety. So taking small steps rather than big large ones can really help overcoming things. The first talk that I did was actually in front of, I think, like 50 people, which is probably too big of a step for me, to be honest, because I did freeze on stage, and the thing that I thought would happen did happen, and it wasn't that big. I still went for my coffee after, it didn't matter. But I suppose if I was looking back at it, I should have taken smaller steps. I should have spoken in front of maybe a group of 3 or 4 people first. But it's okay. It's okay to throw yourself in the deep end sometimes too, because now I'm much more confident for that, because the worst has happened and I'm alive and I'm okay and it doesn't matter. Nothing changed. No one even fucking remembers that talk that I did ages ago. None of you listening to this probably heard it in the first place. So I think that is super important. And think of that spider analogy when you're trying to overcome things, is start with the spider far away and slowly approach it. Don't start with the spider in your face. Or if you want to start with the spider in your face, it might help a couple of you, but fucking probably wouldn't help me. And just getting into that because I mentioned ice cream, and I love a fucking ice cream, one of my favorite things, and I've talked about this analogy a few times, but I want to touch on it with regards to life and enjoyment, and I'll be happy when, and all this sort of stuff. And I kind of did touch on that at IFS, but I want to touch on it here now as well, because I think it can be applied to fat loss quite well and fitness quite well, and it's the aspect of right. So I want to ask you a question, and you can answer it out loud if you're listening, and yeah, maybe be a fucking weirdo for once, so it doesn't really matter. What melts faster, the ice cream or the cone? Fairly rhetorical question. If we have an ice cream cone, what melts faster, the ice cream or the cone? Right, in the case of the ice cream melting faster, remember that, right? Remember it. The ice cream in this analogy kind of stands for our life, because it's melting away. It's going fairly fast at that. Ice cream melts fairly fast. Our life is going by fairly fast. I do not know how the fuck I am 26. That baffles me every time. It feels like only yesterday I was turning 20. But anyways, our life is kind of flying past. The cone is kind of our body focusing on that sort of stuff, like the arbitrary shit like money, finances, XYZ, whatever it might be. And yes, having these things and having a body that's healthy can help support our cone. Having an income can help support our life and help us a little bit. And all these things can help, but what the majority of people actually focus on is just those things. The majority of you focus on just having the perfect body, or just being in perfect shape, or just losing the weight, or just making €5,000 a month, or making whatever it might be, or getting that job promotion, not actually realizing that the cone, the most important part, the nicest part of an ice cream. If anybody says the cone is the nicest part of an ice cream, you're a fucking weirdo. You would never go to an ice cream shop and just order a cone. And if you fucking do, please stop listening to this podcast. There's something deranged wrong with you that I can't fucking solve. But when it comes to the ice cream, focusing on eating the cone and letting the ice cream just melt away is stupid, because the most important part of this whole fucking journey that is life, and it's disappearing faster than you can realize. And I want you to sit and think of that analogy. You're sitting thinking about all of these things that don't really fucking matter, the arbitrary shit, and getting caught up in that, but yet forgetting about the thing that is most important, your life. The memories that you're making, the people that you're spending. And I see this is so apparent with people when you go away on holidays and you're so caught up in fitting into XYZ, or not my weight being up, and being so worried about your weight, and then starving yourself on holidays because you don't want to put on a load of weight when you go away. If you think about it, the ice cream, that moment, the memories that you cannot get back, those times with your friends, family, whatever it might be, you cannot get those back, but yet you avoid those to better the arbitrary shit, which is the cone, that isn't as enjoyable in the first place. And matter of fact, just focus on that arbitrary shit is probably going to decrease your life expectancy and decrease the amount of ice cream that you have fucking rapidly, because you're going to end up stressed, acting like a dickhead, feeling like shit, unfulfilled. And that's where we need to start to switch the mindset to, rather than just money, fame, fucking fat loss, certain body shape, fitting into certain clothes, to actually enjoying your life while, yes, supporting those things and making sure that we are pushing ourselves and building a cone that can support the life that we do want to live. But the cone isn't everything. So stop focusing on that, please. And I think if people can go into start a fat loss journey or whatever it might be with that information and with that analogy and the analogy of the balance and the importance of supporting my ice cream with a good cone, and making sure I'm building that up and working on that, but not allowing it to take over, because health and fitness shouldn't take over your life. It should be part of your life. It should be something that we implement to add to your life and not take away from it. So many allow the fitness and health or whatever it might be to take away from your life, and I know they did for so many years as well, because I struggled with body dysmorphia for quite a bit of time, with regards to like going to the gym and just constantly being so critical on the way that I looked, that I would prevent me from doing so many things. It actually prevented me from going to my graduation in school, which to some people might not be super important, but again, that's a memory I can never get back, because I held myself back because I was focusing on the cone so much. What my cone looked like held me back from experiencing the memories that I could have made there, the memories with people I went to school with that I'll never see again, that I haven't seen in years. And it's always something that I look back on, and it annoys me a little bit, and I just want to stop maybe a couple of you guys making that same mistake that I did. I'll do this I'll go to the gym when I'm fit enough, I'll go on holidays when I'm X amount of weight, or I'll wear this on holidays. Do it now, because you never know, you might not wake up tomorrow. How lucky are we that we get to wake up tomorrow? How lucky are you if you get to wake up tomorrow? How lucky are you that when you're listening to this podcast, you're able to listen to it, that you have ears to be able to listen to it, that you're able to drive a car, you're able to do X, Y, Z, that you can do these things. So many of us get caught up in that sometimes and actually forget that, like, what's important and how lucky we can be in certain situations. And yeah, life can be tough sometimes, and I think it's all part of the journey, and the struggle is what allows. I always think back to this: the struggle that I've faced allows me to help people going through the same situation. So whenever I feel like giving up in anything that I'm going through, that I'm finding difficult or finding hard, and that's not only giving up on life, but giving up on my business or giving up on people that are in the Mulligan's method, whatever it might be, I realized that I'm not only doing a disservice to myself, I'm doing a disservice to everybody else in my life as well, because there's so many people in my life I want to help, like so many people that I haven't even met yet that I want to help, so many people that are like me and maybe are like the things that I'm struggling with now. When I get through them, I'll be able to help a version of me that couldn't get through them, somebody that approaches me with the same problems, same issues. Because I've made it through it, I know it's going to make me feel so good when I can help younger Oisin in the future go through this, to go through these things, to go through the fear, the anxiety, X, Y. I can't wait till there's a point where I know somebody that's going to step on stage and I can give them a piece of advice that maybe help them through the same shit that I was struggling, or maybe give someone a piece of advice that gives them that self-belief. Like, again, we're all fucking idiots to the advice that I'm giving you. That message, half of these messages on this podcast isn't actually for you listening. It's for me when I was younger, when I really needed to hear these things that I'm talking about now. So if you don't like it, I don't care, because I know there's somebody out there that needs to hear it, because if there's me, I can guarantee you there's more. And I think in that, it's super important. And I think in a space where we have social media now, that's the message that I want to spread, is messages that relate to me. And even though this maybe does speak to a couple of, it's selfish in a way, because I want to help younger Oisin as much as I can. And I think that is what drives me on. That's what drives me on to sit down here for an hour on a podcast by myself and ramble on. And that's what drives me on to be better with my coaching and try and do the best that I can for everybody that signs up for the Mulligan's method, and everybody that is in my corner, and everybody in my family, and everybody that's ever helped me out in any manner. That I want to be there for you and support you, and because I know that you're probably going to experience shit, and maybe you have experienced similar shit to what I've gone through and maybe will go through in the future. And this is another thing, I think, like, with regards to getting through struggles and things, and not a lot of the time it can be like, how do I get through it? How do I do this? And you can get stuck in that yourself by trying to solve problems, even though, like, I did talk to you about the progression and the learning and the reflection. That's important. But sometimes as well, it can be good to ask the question of who, not how. And Paul Moore talked about this as well, which I think was brilliant. And it was like issues that you're having or things that you're struggling with or whatever it might be, rather than thinking, how do I solve it? Who can you get to help? Maybe you can speak to a friend, a family member, maybe somebody that's been to the gym before. Maybe you can email the gym. So rather than looking at things or how you can fix these problems, who can you reach out to, or who can you talk to that can help? If you're feeling really anxious going to the gym, as I said, who can I get to help? Well, I can email the gym and ask them and just tell them that I'm feeling anxious. And I think being open and honest about how you're feeling is super important. It's why so many of you guys relate to me on podcasts, and whether it be on social media, whatever it might be, because I'm not afraid. I will tell people exactly how I feel. When I stood on the stage at IFS, I told everybody I'm fucking shitting myself. I'm anxious, I'm nervous, and I'm open. And it helps people relate to you, and people want to help then. And so with going to the gym, if you just admit that, one, it removes all of the fears and anxieties around it, because the biggest fear is trying to hide your fear and hide your anxiety, right? And if you just say, well, fuck it, I'm nervous and anxious as fuck, it's out there and it can't harm you anymore. And I think having it in front of you is easier than having it sneak up behind you or trying to hide it behind you, because if somebody peeks around the corner and sees it, then you're more ashamed and more embarrassed. So I think that that's super important, is to be upfront about how you're feeling and talk about that. I think that's super important. I don't know why I keep saying super important. If I say that one more time, I'm going to fucking clock myself in the head with a fucking dictionary so I learn some more fucking words other than fucking and super important. 2 words are banned for the rest of the podcast. Not allowed to say them. We have 10 minutes left. But into that, ask yourself who, not how. So in a situation where I'm struggling to go to the gym, who? Well, I can reach out to the gym and tell them I'm anxious and nervous and take a step forward. In a situation where maybe I'm struggling with social media, it might be talking to somebody that has done it before and sending a message. It might be if I'm struggling with my mental health, I'm like, how can I overcome this, or how can I get out of this? Maybe chat to a friend, a family member. Chat to somebody about it. I know in situations where I've been really struggling with my mental health, talking to my mum has been one of the best things I've ever done. Has helped me more than anybody. Talking to my dad then has also helped me. And I talk to as many people as I possibly can, because I always think of that thing, who, not how. Who can I get me to help in this situation and leave me not as alone as I currently feel, in comparison to trying to figure it out all myself, which is how. And you get lost in that sometimes, and you get confused and you get overwhelmed and you think emotionally a lot. And that's another aspect of, I suppose, starting off with a health and fitness journey that hopefully will help you, is start thinking logically about things rather than emotionally. And this will be with the scale weight, this will be with the gym, with loads of different aspects of like, all right, my emotional thoughts where it gets to the scale weight when it goes up is I'm useless, I'm fat, I'm lazy, and I can't do things, right? All of these things creep into it. That's the emotional thought. The logical thought is, well, why has this happened? Looking back, maybe I've eaten more carbohydrates. Maybe maybe looking up YouTube videos and describing why scale weight goes up. Maybe I have gone over my calories. Maybe I enjoyed a holiday and that's why it's gone up. And looking at it logically then allows you to forgive yourself for that and allow yourself to continue. Because when we're looking at logically, we can look at the solutions and not the problems that I spoke about earlier. But with regards to anything that you're going through, with regards to going to the gym, the emotions are fear, anxiety, nerves. I'm going to do something wrong, I'm going to fuck up, whatever it might be. Logically is like thinking about what I'm going to do after. Will I feel any of those things, or will I be any of those things? Am I an idiot, or is everybody else an idiot as well, and we're all the same? And thinking about that and taking that forward is in situations where we feel really shit, really overwhelmed, and all of these things, look at it in a logical manner rather than a manner of emotions, because that can be quite hard. And I think when we break it down to logically thinking, it allows us to get through things. It's the podcast kind of just fucked up here. The camera's gone, but regardless, we'll end it up here anyways now in a second. But yeah, anyways, my ramblings for the last couple of minutes. Thank you guys so much for listening. Let me know, I ask maybe to drop me a message and let me know what you thought of it. If there's any points that you maybe took from it, maybe put it up on your story, tag me in it. You don't have to do any of that sort of shit though, but any feedback on the podcast would be good. You can leave a comment down below. And again, for anybody that's looking to get into contact with me, for whether it be just dropping a message, whatever it might be, Instagram is probably the best place. So Mulligans_fitness. And thank you for listening along for this one, and we'll catch you in the next. If I came across a bit rambly, I do apologize. I'm trying my best to slow down my talking, and I'm going to try my best to get a little bit more consistent with these as much as I can, because I think I enjoyed just deep diving into things and rambling on for a little bit. Although the next episode probably won't be an hour, because fuck, if I had to listen to my voice for an hour, I'd want to give myself a headbutt. But anyways, good night, God bless, and thank you so much for listening.